be real with you, I didn't go to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem when it first came out. I have absolutely no idea why. I enjoyed the trailers immensely, I thought the film looked really fun, but I suppose it's one of those things where I just didn't get around to it and it faded from my memory. Until I watched it this year on Netflix. In short, I loved it and thought it was a fantastic movie. Today though, I want to talk about the brand new animated short that's set a little while after Mutant Mayhem titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Chrome Alone 2, Lost in New Jersey. This title alone justifies the existence of the entire short if you ask me. It's never the wrong time to have a Home Alone reference. A little while ago we got the trailer for it and to be perfectly honest, I feel a little jibbed. When I saw the title, I was immediately hyped. A Home Alone 2 parody sequel movie with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That's possibly the greatest idea anybody in Hollywood has ever had. Only for me to be let down in the end when I learned it was actually just an animated short that's going to debut in front of the new SpongeBob Squarepants movie. I understand that it makes sense to not have a feature-length copycat parody of another movie, but still, I thought it would be so fun to have a Christmas-themed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and now I'm bummed out. I'll try not to let my expectations cloud my judgment though, as admittedly, this is still exciting. I should actually amend my statement somewhat. It's not really a trailer. It's labelled as a teaser, but it's really just a singular scene from the short. I suppose it does count as a teaser, but I more associate that word with a smaller version of a trailer. Anyway, I suppose we should go through that clip first, and then we can theorise on what's actually going to happen. The clip starts with the boys walking along the streets of New York City, presumably doing some Christmas shopping. I would hazard a guess that this is probably the first scene, if not, it's a very early one. You probably wouldn't need much before this, maybe one with Splinter telling the boys to be careful as they go out Christmas shopping, but that's all I think is necessary. So Leo asks the others if they've gotten Splinter anything for Christmas, to which Mikey replies that he made a mug before showing it off. I know the boys shit on him for it, but to be honest, I thought it looked really good. I understand it's meant to be an unflattering likeness to Splinter, but it was made with love and care, and I genuinely think he'd like that above anything else. You just watch. Splinter's going to receive the mug at the end somehow, and he's going to love it. Anyway, Donnie decides to ask ChatGPT what a rat dad would like for Christmas, only for the suggestion to be laser hair removal. See, now that is unflattering. He hilariously tries to defend the answer, saying that AI is only as good as its prompts, but I suspect that even if he typed in, what does a not overly hairy rat dad want for Christmas, it would probably still come up with something like braces or shampoo. Regardless, how much data does Donnie think ChatGPT would even have on rat fathers? It's not like they're incredibly common in relation to human traditions like gift giving. I think they should be grateful that AI didn't recommend poison, that's all I'm saying. Meanwhile, Leo brings their attention to a storefront TV advertising some toys that closely resemble our heroes. The TV advertisement begins with tubular tortoise karate warriors. Hilariously, they have real humans playing with the toys. The narration tells us that Chrome Dome is attacking the city. To my knowledge, that is a villain that hasn't been introduced in this version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It cuts to some kids yelling tortoise power, and the ad shows close-ups of the toys, which look pretty funny to be honest. And the names really got me. Nardo, Ralph, Danny, and Mark. Such butchering, and yet so great comedically. Especially Mikey's head being smashed in, which really adds to his whole perception as being somewhat intellectually challenged. The addition of the extra fingers is also a neat touch for the action figures, and then just Raph loving his version. It's all perfect. The idea that the toys stole his move when, you know, the kid literally just did it themselves rather than being a specific feature, that's just icing on the cake. The whole ad just takes me straight back to being a kid and watching the endless toy advertisements on TV, on Saturday Disney or whatever. That animation to make the toy look extra fun and real, only for the lower tone voice to say that the toy isn't actually alive, is so on par. The more I watch this bit, the more amazed and entertained I am. The cheesy additions of character quirks like bashing buddies and eating cheeseburgers with the catchphrase tortoise-a-bunga just all make it. The producers are called Authentic Imitations Toy Company. I don't know if I'd agree with authentic, seems a far cry to tell you the truth, but it's certainly some sort of imitation, I'll give them that. This whole ad is just a perfect parody of knockoff brands, down to the sound-alike names. It's just so funny. The boys obviously realize that this is a clear rip-off of their own personas without monetary compensation, and so they decide to go to the toy company in New Jersey to confront them. We get the title, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Chrome Alone 2, Lost in New Jersey, and the release date, which is the 19th of December, ahead of the SpongeBob Squarepants movie. For me, though, it's likely going to be the 26th of December, considering that's the release date for SpongeBob in Australia. I know we've only gotten a small snippet so far, but this genuinely feels as though it could be a premise for a feature-length film. There's so much you could do with it that, to be honest, I'm still kind of disappointed it's only going to be a short. There's so much set up in this snippet that I think needs to play out, which I'm not sure it's going to be able to if the runtime's so small. You have them Christmas shopping, so obviously you want to see Christmas Day and for them to all find the perfect gift for Splinter. They're obviously going to have to make their way to New Jersey, which is going to be an odyssey in and of itself. They'll probably also want to draw comparisons between New York and New Jersey, with the obvious joke that New Jersey is a rip-off of New York, just like the toys are rip-offs of the boys. I feel like it needs to be said that I have no skin in that game, and I'm not saying it's true, I just know that's what the writers have planned and presumably are going to deliver on. Then the Turtles are going to get to the toy company, most likely have to break in because I doubt they'll just be allowed to walk in. They'll have some sort of confrontation, are schooled with laws about copyright and how if something's different enough they don't have a leg to stand on legally. You'll have the names, the fingers, the likeness, and the fact that they're called tortoises, not turtles, as excuses. Here is where I'm unsure as to what happens next. Obviously, the company's factory is going to get destroyed somehow. They're also very clearly going to actually fight Chrome Dome, considering he's relevant in the title of the short. Where he comes from, though, I have no idea. Maybe he's behind the dodgy toy company? Who knows? So they fight, they're somehow vindicated, and I assume they get a brand deal with some other company to produce toys. Just a guess. They'll quickly have to do some last minute shopping, which I'm sure could make up a fun montage, and then the actual Christmas scene with Splinter. Now when I put it like that, yes, it does sound like it could just make up a short, but I really think you'd delve deeper into it and flesh it out as a proper movie. I know I keep going on about it, but it's true! A fun Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Christmas movie would be so much fun. I'll still enjoy this, no doubt, but I can't help but mourn such a great idea being used for a short film. I wonder if there's going to be some more serious callbacks to Home Alone 2. I can't really figure out how them being lost in New Jersey is really going to be relevant to the overall plot, other than just being a joke about the New York-New Jersey rivalry. I assume maybe with the Chrome Alone 2 bit, they'll have battled Chrome Dome before, and this is technically the second fight they'll have, even though we haven't seen the first. Maybe he's alone on the holidays and he's sad and bitter, and that's why he fights the Turtles. I was actually really enjoying all the obvious callbacks to the 80s and 90s in the advertisement, so I do hope they keep that going in the film itself. I find it interesting though that the director said the short's creation was inspired by his love for 90s family films. I'm aware that Home Alone 1 and 2 came out in the 90s, but the word tubular's throwing me off a little from the toy ad. I don't think tubular was really a common slang term in the 90s and was strictly 80s instead. I mean, I could be wrong, I was only little in the 90s, so I'd have no idea really, but it just doesn't feel right. I could accept it if he said that it was inspired by both the 80s and the 90s, but this seems strictly 90s based, so it's just a bit odd. I'm loving the art direction though. The first film was very grim and dark, which made a lot of sense. I'm not knocking it, I genuinely enjoyed the animation style and I thought it was cool and different. It definitely fit the vibe of these kids hiding in the sewers and having to keep their identities a secret. Then at the end, everything's a lot brighter and more colourful because they're allowed to be out in the open and go to school, etc. So now they're obviously continuing with that vibe. I like how all of them have these different clothing styles as well. Leo, who's the leader and perhaps the more put together one's wearing a nice coat and scarf. You have anime fan, tech-savvy Donnie, who's got his headphones and bright jacket with his hood covering his face. Very on brand to me. In my experience, fanboys often have colourful clothing due to wearing various different characters, etc. on their t-shirts, and so that's why that makes sense. Mikey, who's more fun-loving, has an awesome Christmas jumper and beanie on, whilst Angst Machine Raph has the black jacket and red beanie. They all just fit their personality so much, and it's obvious serious care was put into designing them. I love it. It's clear tonally this will carry on very well from the first movie. It cannot be understated how good that movie was, and I'm still in awe of it. When I was a kid, I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and having seen numerous iterations of them over the years, I had grown pretty tired of bad adaptations. I'm pretty sure that everybody has their own favourite, but for me, up until this point, I loved the 2000s cartoon. It was just fun and exciting, and I didn't expect anything could live up to my nostalgia. How wrong I was though, because this movie was excellent. First of all, the animation. I know that everybody cites the Spider-Verse as having introduced this new action-based / comic book style, and it's true, it did. However, Mutant Mayhem did something so new and fresh with it that it really blew me away. It was dark and gritty, but it was meant to be, and so now the mood's changed within the ongoing story, I'm glad the animation has changed somewhat too. I think the attention to detail and the way the characters moved was incredibly lifelike and enhanced the story immensely. The way they wrote the characters and how they behaved was really the standout though. They all behaved so much like teenage boys, and I think it was a really endearing way of portraying them. They were silly, funny, thoughtful, and sensitive. Especially in today's day and age, I think it was such a breath of fresh air, and honestly, I don't even think they meant to achieve this. I mean, it's certainly possible. The creators were definitely thoughtful in how they wanted to construct the characters and environment to feel realistic, but I just think that the authenticity was a nice change. I think that narratives around teenagers in movies and shows can often appear a lot more mature and adult because that's how you genuinely feel, and it makes the most sense for a streamlined story where there's a heavy plot and a lot you need to deal with. Here though, it's obvious the priority was connecting with the characters and everything else was just kind of background noise. Of course, the story is important in the sense that the boys got their freedom and became accepted by wider society, led to a better sense of self in all of them and allowed them to grow as people. Grow as turtles? I don't know, I think that's just what stayed with me the most after I watched the movie. Just how fun the characters are. That's what seems to lead this franchise and why I'm so excited for its return, even in a short film. The world and the characters feel so fun. It's lighthearted, easygoing, and yet is so clever and witty. Not that the Turtles are strictly superheroes, I think they are in everything but name, yet for whatever reason, in a saturated superhero market, you don't have anything or anyone that's this lighthearted and goofy. But why is that? I suppose Spider-Man comes closest, but even then, that whole storyline is very trauma heavy. He's always got very serious things happening to him. These guys just don't. They had issues and obstacles to overcome, sure, but nothing that seriously got out of this world or life-threatening enough that it was going to leave them in therapy for the rest of their lives. In the 2010s, I think it was the fun thing to have more dark, gritty stories. The Happily Ever After had been done time and time again, and whilst there were some more serious story with darker themes, they never really made it to the mainstream that much. So in contrast to that, we had an influx of heavy narratives with real consequences and bittersweet endings. Those stories definitely have their place, and they're good to consume from time to time. Coming into adulthood in that decade, I feel as though I was the prime demographic for this. You wanted to be taken seriously, and consuming more weighty content felt like a way to achieve that. I still like them a lot sometimes, but to be honest, it feels oversaturated now, and I think that 15 years on, we need to strike that balance. We need content to remind us to value what we have and learn vital lessons without having to experience them yourself, but also some lighthearted, silly fun like Chrome Alone 2 Lost in New Jersey. I cannot tell you how hyped I am for this short, and I hope this video has gotten that across, and I look forward to even more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle content. We have a sequel coming in 2027, and apparently there's a TV series set within this universe that I had absolutely no idea existed. Looks like we gotta add that to my ever-growing list of things to watch. It's a good time for film and TV, I tell you what. With all that being said though, these have been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles short? Are you excited for it? Maybe not? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.